So thank you so much for your kind invitation. Today I will present you the ELSI and Data Protection for Rare Disease Data Insights. So this is Annalisa Landi from Gianni Benzi Pharmacological Research Foundation. Just a quick introduction about myself. I'm a researcher at FGB, and I'm also the ethics advisor of the RASHIR project. I'm a member of the steering group of the European Network of Centers for Pharmacoepidemiology and Pharmacovigilance. I'm a pharmacist with a second level postgraduate master in regulatory science, and I also performed an internship at the Leiden University Medical Centers in the FAIR team of Marco Ros. So I'm involved in scientific, ethical, and regulatory activities, particularly related to clinical studies, but also data protection and confidentialities. I'm involved in the planning and management of patient registries and medicine databases. And also I deal with health data and accessibility issues topics. But in the last years, I'm also involved in the gender equality and inclusiveness aspects. I'm involved in different national and international projects dealing with ethics in biomedical research. So the agenda for today is included in this slide. I will start with a brief introduction of the ELSI, so the definition and the relevance. Then we will talk about the value of the health data for research. And for sure, also, we will talk about the benefit and challenges of data use for research with insights on the insights on the rare disease data used for research. We will then go through the ELSI related to the management of rare disease data with two focuses, one on the rare hemoglobinopathies and the other one on the data protection and artificial intelligence. And it is also my pleasure to share with you the experience of Benzi Foundation in the field. And we will end with some take-home messages. So in order to start our discussion, this is one of the definitions of the ELSI. So ELSI stands for ethical, legal, and social issues. It includes all non-technical issues that arise when developing emerging science and technologies and implementing them into society. There are other definitions for which, for example, the I stands for implications. It is originally focused. It was originally focused on genomics, but now it is applied across several fields, such as the healthcare and artificial intelligence. So, why addressing ELSI is important? Addressing ELSI is important for different reasons, such as to protect patient rights, to address equity and access to healthcare, to guide healthcare policy and legal framework, and to ensure responsible innovation in artificial intelligence and genetic medicine. I would like to highlight you the importance of health data because they are a real value for the scientific research. And we need to push for a balance between the benefit of data sharing or access and the challenges that come with the research with health data, such as the privacy rights and constraints and ethical and legal requirements. So we need to identify the different identify, to classify the different type of health data. I try to include most of them in this slide, so they can come from clinical practice. For example, we have electronic health records, data from screening initiatives, prescriptions data, real-world data, and so on. We have also data coming from clinical trials, so and clinical studies, among which we have also patient-reported outcomes, but also data related to samples. And we have also health data included in the patient registries, for example, patient-reported outcomes, real-world data, and demographic and clinical data. Which are the benefits of the data used for research? For sure, there are a lot of benefits, but among the benefits that we well known, I can and I would like to highlight, for example, the validation of hypothesis that is encouraged by the use and reuse of data. It also allows unnecessary repetition of studies, can accelerate the medicine development and reduce cost. It allows also and promotes the development of artificial intelligence tools and models, and also promote the analysis on a large amount of data. Also, among the benefits, we can find the improvement of the quality of life of patients. But for sure, the use of data is not enough, because the coolest thing to do with your data will be thought of by someone else. So it is important to highlight the relevance of the secondary use of data. So the secondary use of data refers to the use of data for a different purpose than the one for which it was originally collected. And today we can say that the secondary use of data not only involved the data sharing activities, but it also involved the data access, because there are a lot of federated systems allowing the data to remain where they are, and giving authorized access to researchers. It is important to note that the term secondary use is different from the further processing included in the GDPR, since the term further processing refers not only to the secondary use of data, but also to a different data processing activity, for example, the data sharing or the data transformation or so on, that is made on the same data collected for the primary purpose. In addition to the benefits for the use of data for research, we need to highlight also the challenges. Most of them relate to ethical, legal, and social issues, but we have also specific data protection considerations, technical issues, data quality issues, and also issues related to the lack of recognition or financial return or social rewards for data owners. It is important that to highlight that health data represent a significant resource for research, especially in the rare disease field. And there is the need to balance the benefits of these data sharing and access with the challenges, with the risks. I would like included in this slide one of the most recent results from a quantitative survey that was launched in 2019 and aimed to collect patient perspective on data sharing and data protection, rare disease patient perspective. So we need to highlight that rare disease patients are really willingness and supporting supportive for data sharing in order to foster both research and improving healthcare, but for sure they will to have their privacy choices and needs for information respected. So it is important to take in mind the wishes and the perspective of the patients. In the rare disease field, for sure, we have major benefits, but also major challenges. This is because we have a few patients with a few data that are always or often heterogeneous and complex and scattered and fragmented. And so we have, for example, one of the benefits that is major in the rare disease field is that we can have a collection of a larger amount of data that are dispersed geographically. And also it is relevant that this kind of exchange may benefit of the expertise of rare disease experts worldwide. We also need to highlight that it is a valid alternative to clinical trials that are not always feasible due to the low number of patients. But for sure, we have also major challenges when we when we use rare disease data for research, and among which we found the increased risk of identification because we have few patients and few data. We have often vulnerable populations involved, and there is also the processing of genetic data with the potential risk of incidental findings. So in order to start our discussion on the ELSI related to the management of rare disease data, I would like to start with the ethical issues. So if we think about ethical issues related to the management of rare disease data, we need to start talking about informed consent. Then we need to move to the vulnerable population, to the topic related to the vulnerable population, but there are also other issues such as the implications of genetic data, the approval from the ethics committee, issues related to the data access, and also access to research results. Starting from the informed consent, we need to say that this is something that I really like to repeat, that informed consent is a dynamic process and begins when we start the recruitment of the subject, but does not end with the signature of the subject, because we need to monitor and maintain the comprehension of the information, and also when we have new information, the consent should be refreshed. The features of the informed consent, the main features are included in this slide. The informed consent is to be freely given, informed, so it is important to inform the patient or the participant about the research. It is to be clear and comprehensive with using plain language. It is to be transparent, explicit, and it is possible and easy to withdraw the consent. With reference to the vulnerable population, we need to say that rare diseases often involves small or vulnerable populations, such as minors or individuals with intellectual disabilities who are not able to give the consent. So in this kind of situation, we need to carefully consider the risk to the participants and to balance them with the potential benefit to participate in the research. Among the vulnerable populations, we need to give the right attention to the pediatric one, where the parents, legal designated representatives, must provide the authorization to the research, but also the informed assent from the minors should be obtained. It is important that the information is provided in an age-appropriate way, so adapted to the language skills and understanding of the minor. And the use of visual strategies, for example, the use of videos, cartoons, pictures are encouraged. And also the cultural differences should be considered. So in case of cultural differences, maybe we can arrange for translations. The implications of genetic data is also an important aspect, because the 72% of rare diseases are of genetic origin. So discoveries about one patient can affect also the families. It is important so to consider the possible implications for family members. It is important to highlight that the consent for the genetic testing must be separated from the consent to participate in the main research. The information of unexpected or possible unexpected results should be provided to the participants, and an incidental finding policy should be agreed. Findings should be feedback when they are of immediate clinical relevance from a preventive, diagnostic, or therapeutic level, and for reproductive choices, and also the genetic counseling should be foreseen. One other aspect of the ethics issues is to deal with the ethics committee's approval. So the need for an ethics committee's approval according to the national and local applicable provisions must be checked before starting any kind of research. This is a very important aspect. Then we need also to consider the accessibility conditions and restrictions of data. So in many cases, we have a data access committee in place that is an institutional safeguard body in charge of ensuring the ethically permissible balance between the data protection and accessibility. And the rule of the data access committee and the purpose is to assess if the proposed use of data is in line with the bounds, in line with the data's permitted uses. So the data access committees need to consider what is stated in the original consent obtained from the individuals, but also if there are additional accessibility conditions and restrictions to this kind of data, and must also assess the data users qualification. Often there are authentication tools in place in order to verify the identity of the data user. And the data access committee must also be sure that this use of data is done in compliance with the applicable laws, regulations, and practices. The last ethical issue that I would like to share with you today is the access to research results. Research results should be provided to study participants in a clear and comprehensive way in order to increase transparency and also build trust. Now we can move to the legal aspects, to the legal issues related to the management of rare disease data. And among the legal issues, you can find the data protection, the legal basis for data processing, the respect of the participants' rights, intellectual property and data ownership, and the regulatory compliance. So starting from the data protection, it is important that the compliance with the applicable data protection regulations must be ensured. In Europe, for example, compliance with the European General Data Protection Regulation. But we need also to know that there are national implementations set out by the member states that needs to be complied with as well. We need also to highlight that within international projects and collaborations, the data processing activities must comply with the legal framework regarding the cross-border data flows and access. So it is important to ensure the compliance with all the applicable law of the countries involved. The second aspect related to the legal part is the legal basis for the data processing. It is relevant that the informed consent is only one of the legal bases for the data processing according to the European Union GDPR. There are other legal bases, for example, the public task or vital interest. We have also to respect the participants' rights. The rights of the participants are included in the European Union GDPR as well, and they are the right to be informed, the right to access the data, the right to rectify the data, to object to the processing, to restrict the processing, the right to data portability, the right to be forgotten, and the rights in relation to automated decision-making and profiling. Another aspect to consider is about the intellectual property and data ownership. I think that it is important, it is really an important aspect to clarify the ownership not only of the data, but also about the ownership of research findings and also of any product that may be generated by the research. In considering this aspect, we also need to provide research participant to information related to the purpose for the data use. In case of data use for profit purposes, this must be explicit. We have also the last aspect, the last legal issue that I would like to share with you today, that is the regulatory compliance. So researchers might need to obtain also the approval from relevant regulatory authorities, for example, the European Medicines Agency, but it depends on the research protocol, and it depends also on the national law. We also need to address social issues, among which we have the access to treatment and care, discrimination and stigmatizations, the autonomy and informed consent, and equity and justice. So with reference to the first point, it is important to ensure the availability of new treatment and findings for all patients, especially when we consider low and middle income countries. We have also to think about and consider the emotional, social, and psychological implications of the findings related both to the patients and to the families. But we also need to consider the voluntary participation in the research without no coercion for participant. And the last point is related to the inclusive participation, sorry, in the research. So, in order to have such a focus on the EMA-FAIR project, I included in this slide some examples of the ELSI issues that may arise in the case of rare inherited hemoglobinopathies. For example, this relates to the racism and implicit bias within and outside the healthcare system. We have also to consider the form of stigmatization due to the cultural belief and also the lack of understanding of the disease, but also the complex interplay between the socioeconomic, psychological, and biological factors such as the pain experience in sickle cell disease. In this slide included an example, the use of hydroxyurea in children with sickle cell diseases, and the barriers to the utilization of this drug. There are different considerations that needs to be shared, and among these barriers and considerations, there are also ELSI aspects. For example, you can find the drug costs and availability, or the need of frequent follow-up. In this case, this can bring to alterations or implications in the quality of life of both children and their parents. But there are also other aspects to consider, for example, the lack of adequate experience of clinicians. And also the lack of time and resources to explain the risk and benefit, and it may affect the informed consent process. But we also need to highlight, for example, the fear of adverse events and the patient compliance. Now, in order to focus also on the protection, rare disease data, and artificial intelligence, I included in this slide some principles related to the general principles related to the data protection. First of all, it is important that the personal and the special categories of data, including the health and genetic data, must be kept confidential, and the access to this data is provided only to authorized people. Data breaches and loss must be prevented by implementing ad hoc safeguard measures, most of them related to the security. And it is important to limit the data to what is necessary for the purpose of the research, so in order to respect the data minimization principle. We have also to highlight the identification measures, for example, the pseudonymization that shall be put in place in order to reduce the risk of re-identification of participants, that in the case of rare disease patient is higher, and also to inform the participant about the retention period and what will be done with the data after the end of this period. I want to also highlight that the consent to data processing activity does not overlap with the consent to the research, that they are different, but for sure the lack of consent to data processing may compromise the participation in the study, in the research study. And I also included in this slide the information that must be provided to the data subject when processing personal data. It is important to share with the data subject information, the type of data that will be processed, information about the purposes and future purposes of the processing, the duration of the data storage or the criteria to determine the data storage, any transfer of personal data to a third country, and also the appropriate safeguard measures that will be implemented, information related to any automated decision making, including also the profiling, and information related to the responsible figures for data processing, including, for example, information about the data protection officer, the contact details of the data protection officers, and the main rights of the data subject. If artificial intelligence systems are used in the context of research with the rare disease data, additional ELSI should be considered. The guideline, the ethics guideline for trustworthy AI should be followed, and it is important because it is an European Union standard, and it is important to ensure trustworthiness and compliance with this guideline. And all the potential risks coming from the AI system must be identified and mitigated. In this slide, I included the requirements for the trustworthy AI, and you can find among them, for example, the human oversight, the need for human oversight, something related also to the safety and the technical robustness of the system, the privacy, the accountability, the diversity and non-discrimination and fairness principle, and so on. And we need to ensure that these systems align with the ethical principles that are listed here. So the human autonomy. This system should not undermine the decision making, and the prevention of the harm in order to have for addressing these, it is important to have a strong data governance in place, and the principles of fairness and transparency, so to avoid bias and ensure explainability. In order to have a key AI governance in place, it is important to work to educate stakeholders on trustworthy AI. So with the training sessions and campaign to raise awareness about this, to have the clear accountability and also the traceability, so ensure the proper testing, validation, and monitoring of the systems. Now, before proceeding to the BENZI Foundation experience, I would like to share with you two of the European initiatives for the use of the health data. One of these is the European Data Space regulation that came into force yesterday, and also the Darwin EU, that is a network of the European Medicine Agency, aim to perform data analysis and real-world interrogations using real-world data healthcare databases. So now, before going into the experience in practice, I would like to share with you some insight about the BENZI Foundation. The BENZI Foundation is a not-for-profit scientific research organization with a focus on rare disease patients and children. It was founded in 2007, inspired by the work of Professor Gianni Benzi, who was a respected scientist and one of the first regulatory experts who joined the European Agency for Medicines. And the foundation works to make sure that innovative and safe medicines become part of the European pharmaceutical system. We have three main areas of work, one related to the ethics and regulatory science, another one related to the research methodology, and the last one related to the data science and information technology. We try to condensate all the activities, the ongoing activities of the foundation in this slide. You can find different activities, most of them related with rare hemoglobinopathies, but we also worked in the field of rare diseases more in general with our participation in the European Rare Disease Research Alliance and previously in the European Joint Program on Rare Diseases. And we also worked with we also work with the development of pediatric and orphan medicines, with the development of innovative medical devices, and with biosamples and related data. So the first experience, if according to my knowledge of Benzi Foundation, was the Akati et al. Experience. This is an Italian multi-regional thalassemia registry that included epidemiological, clinical, diagnostic, and therapeutic data from 2,000 thalassemia patients. It was funded by the Italian Ministry of Health and by Fondazione Leonardo Giambrone, and is voluntarily managed by Benzi Foundation after the end of the public funds period. We collaborated with other data collection initiatives considering the aim of the registry. I would also like to share with you the experience of Connect for Children project. In this project, we worked on the identification of existing initiatives that have developed electronic archiving programs or repositories that aims to store, share, and reuse data from pediatric clinical trials, and also to describe the features and impact on pediatric research. You can find the link and more details in the publication. We also worked with another project that is the EPICAL one on HIV, in which and for which we worked in the regulatory work package, and we provided insightful recommendation on how challenging data and sample sharing in the pediatric clinical research can be transformed into science-driven opportunities. So in order to foster collaboration and innovation in the field. I included here also the publication. And finally, I would like to share with you the experience that we had with EJPRD, the European Joint Program on Rare Diseases, in collaboration with the ERNs, with the European Reference Networks. We created a common informed consent form for ERN registries. This template aims to foster, according to patient preferences, the reuse of registry data for research purposes in compliance with the applicable laws and standards. So we created a version for participants, another one for parents, legal designated representative, and it is to be adapted at ERN level, national level, and site level, and it is available in 26 national languages on the EJPRD website. I included the link in the slide, and also this work resulted in a publication also included in this slide. So in order to end my lecture, I would like to share with you some take-home messages, but I would like also to complete this list with you. I also prepared an interactive session. So my main take-home messages from today's lectures are that health data are a real value for scientific research, and in the context of research with rare disease data, the benefits and challenges are greatest, and addressing the ELSI ethical, legal, and social issues is relevant mainly to protect patient rights and to guide healthcare policy and legal framework. But for sure, I would like to to complete this list with you. So I would invite you to join the interactive session. I have included in this slide the QR code and the link, and I can share with you my screen. Okay, so this is to let you type your take-home message, or more than one, if you have it. Just to check with Dylan that you can see my right screen, the one with the interactive session.
Sure. Yes, yeah, I can see it.
Okay, okay, thank you. Don't be shy. So yeah, just as a wrap up. Always inform patients. Yes. Consider discrimination. Thank you. They consent to. Patient understand what. So maybe the monitoring of the comprehension. Consider ELSI prior to work. Yes, it's a very important aspect because it should be done by design. Always inform your DPO. Yes. Consider secondary use. Assent for kids. Genetic data protection. Yeah. Okay, maybe I will leave another 1 minute and then I will move to the next question. Educating stakeholder. ELSI experts are needed. Yes, you're right. Thank you so much for contributing. Equity and justice. Don't remember if I read everything, but I think yes. Maybe we can move to the next question. Which topic did you like most of this lecture? Feel free to be sincere. Everything was useful. Thank you. Informed consent, secondary use, Artificial Intelligence Act. Yeah. We need to dedicate our next lecture to the ethics and artificial intelligence, and also the European data space dilemma for the next time.
Yeah, I agree. It's a hot topic.
Yeah, legal issues. Artificial intelligence is new more in this. I see legal issues. Maybe I already read it. Ethical issue, legal issue. Rare disease, common consent. Okay. Discrimination. Importance of sharing data. Yes. Maybe we can move to the next one. Which related topic would you like to explore further during the MFA training activities? Broad consent, European Data Space, Artificial Intelligence Act, legal aspects of EC with HD, broad consent, yeah, stigmatization and discrimination, IC withdrawn procedure, interesting, ethical AI, ethical study design, I see that someone else is typing, so I will wait another minute before closing the session. biobanks samples data. Yeah. Age informed consent material explanation. Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much. Yes, this is my final slide. I would like to thank also my colleague Sabina for her help in with the presentation. Now I can remove the screen sharing. I'm open for questions if you have questions. Otherwise, you can reach me also by email.
Thanks, Annalisa. It was a great presentation, and I think the final interactive session gave us a lot of ideas for the next sessions.
Hi, Petros. Thank you. Hi, Petros, please.
Annalisa, thank you very much. It was very interesting. Many times when we design different studies, we have the problem that when you are running several studies on very similar topics, you need to ask the patient for informed consent multiple times. So I was wondering what would be the best approach to keep the patient informed, but at the same time, not having to collect a consent for very similar studies multiple times. So how should we proceed, for instance, to get a consent that is much broader and covers maybe several topics on the same disease or very closely related? So are there any approaches on that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Petros. I think that the informed opt-out procedure approach is maybe the best choice, and it is also the approach of the European Health Data Space. So in this case, patients provide a broad consent and then can decide to opt in or opt out, but it will be the method will be different according to the member state's decision. But in this case, they give informed consent and they can opt out, but the choice is also reversible, so they can provide again the consent, and for sure they need to be to access information about how the data are being used. So if we find a right way to inform patients about the use of the data in the different, for example, the different projects and the different for different purposes, they can provide this kind of broad consent, but giving them the possibility to opt out if they do not want to remain in the with their data in the space. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, Coralia.
Hi, Annalisa. Thank you very much for this interesting session. So, with regards to these new acts, does anything change about when participants in studies die and what happens to their data, existing data? Because they cannot opt out, let's say.
Yeah. I need to check this information because I'm not sure about the answer with reference to the persons that die. What I can say is that for sure, according to the new information on the European Health Data Space, patients can provide a legal representative or authorized person that can manage their preferences. So maybe in this case, there will be someone that is in charge of give the choice. on behalf of the person who died. But I will for sure check check this information and be back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's yeah, it's a really an interesting question.
Any follow-up question? Okay, I don't think we have anything else, Annalisa. So if you agree, I think we can close up the session. Thanks for a great presentation.
Thank you.
This meeting was recorded, so we will share the recording on our YouTube channel, and also we'll announce it on the social media platforms. You can also access the slides via Zenodo account of the project. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much, Dilem and Petros.